Hello everyone, my name is Tris and this is GWR Now. I wanted to say, first of all, hi, hope you're all okay, taking care of yourselves, and basically talk about what I want to do today. I haven't been finishing things all the time. I do videos, that will be partially an interest of what I'm up to, as well as videos that are kind of, I've got a thing, let's put it together, let's make a video, let's have some fun. And along the way I learn things. And I picked up this Pecos O-gauge kit from Tony's Trains of Rugby over in Rugby. Go check out Tony's place, it's at Hillmorton Locks. It's a nice day out. And I got this, my main reason was just pure interest. I wanted to see how the chassis went together. Are they just an upscale 00 chassis? And I'm going to talk to you about that because on a live stream I built the chassis up and it was nice. Some people would say, well, why don't you just buy one of the pre-built dapole wagons or box vans or whatever. They're a similar price. Well, that's fine, that's ready to run, but there's a massive value to doing the crafting, building things up, completing a kit from just bits of plastic and some bits of metal. And that's what I wanted to go through with you today. I wanted to finish this kit, I wanted to put it together. The kit is W606. Have I got any other projects that I haven't finished? Yes, I have many, and I'm sure you have too. I was going to say, leave a comment below and just write down what projects you've picked up time and time again, never quite finished, wanted to finish, projects you've wanted to start. I did a video, I think about 2 years ago now, which was a pile of shame video, and I've kind of whittled that down quite a lot, but then I buy more stuff, I build that pile back up. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring the camera around here. We're going to have a look at what we've got in this box here. It's been sitting on the shelf for a number of months since that live stream, and I think it's about time that I finish it. Let's get the contents out carefully. I don't want to damage anything that I'd already done. So that's a chassis that I've already built. We'll talk about that a bit more in a second, and I'll go through some of the things that I think are good about it. You get your typical card instruction sheet. You've got advertisements for other things that you can buy. So if you enjoy the project, you can go and get yourself a wagon. And that's a steel looking one, steel open wagon. I like the idea of doing a wagon, maybe two different numbers, and then have, I don't know, that 6-wheel brake van looks nice. And eventually get myself a dapole, do a pannier for a very good price. And that's something that I'd like to get hold of, and maybe have a short layout sometime, somewhere. One of my many other projects. And then obviously you've got your instructions on the inside, so I built it up based on what was in here. The guys over at Pecos done a nice job on this, a lot more detail than, let's say, some of the older Parkside kits that, let's say, Pecos took on, but not everything's been updated, so there's a lot more kind of detailed info on this. So I got to this point here, which is putting the van body on, which that's pretty simple. Can we get that done in this video? Well, of course, this video might take a few days to record. I've been traveling a lot with work lately, so I can do videos in between working. And then we've got the transfers info there. I like the big GW on things generally, and so that will be going on there. You get the the transfer sheet here, so we carefully lift this up. So you've got the large GW, which is nice. And then if you want to make it, I guess, a fish fan, and it's going to be brown, we can use these ones. So that's nice, you get that option. Then you get the BR ventilated van bits there. Then you get this for the banana van, so that's cool. So I'm looking forward to doing this. Then I have some big transfers left for another project one day. If I do any more Garden Railway size logos, I can drop these on there. So we get a large moulding here, which is the roof that goes on top. So we'll paint this white anyway. You almost don't need to paint it. It's all like the right kind of colour, isn't it? And then we got the sides here. So we've got all that lovely detail with a nice wood engraving in here. That's nice. Is that done by hand? Was that scribed in? You do wonder like how that's all done. But it does stick out, so it's interesting. So yeah, it doesn't stick out. So I always enjoy tooling, partly what I do for work. We design RC cars, and not grumpy cars, but remote controlled ones, and we do tooling ourselves. Well, we don't make it ourselves, but we get it in, and I always find it interesting when I see other manufacturers do it. And I went to see Pico in the summertime, and very enjoyable. That's a repeat of the part they've just had there. And then these are the bits that I'd worked through before, which allow me to build up the chassis. Then we have in here the links to then connect up the coupling effectively of the two wagons or whatever it is. Then we have the two ends, and then trying to get away, we have this wagon. If you didn't already watch that live stream of me building it up, go check it out. I generally do a live stream and just chat away as we do things. But it comes with these nice metal wheels on little metal bearings, and they spin for some time, and very, very good. There's a bit of weight to them. This one is articulated, so there's a rocker in here. Not a massive amount of articulation, but there's enough so that axle can move. So then when we put it down, there's compensation there, so effectively you don't have like three wheels touching down, so it adds stability there. Then the other cool detail that I really, really liked is you'll see a sprung steel bit of rod there. And if you look at the buffer ends, we compress this one, and it's pushing on that and adds that realism that we all enjoy from sprung buffers. And that's held in place by this coupling hook here, which was in there. It was reasonably stiff to get in. I don't know if that was meant to be able to pull out as well. But as you can see, all of them worked. It took me a few moments to kind of figure it out when I was doing the stream, but we got there in the end. So we've got brakes on one side. I don't know if I need to add brakes on the other side. I feel like I should probably add brakes on the other side. Generally, when you look at the pictures of them, you can see what's going on. You can see the brakes that are on here. But there's something going on the other side. Is that to a cylinder underneath, or is that brakes to the side? If not, we've got the instructions over here. The only thing that would benefit us is an image from Pico when they have this kind of thing of where you have the kind of finished article. So you've just put everything on, and you know, the last image of it upside down, you can see everything with the brakes all fitted, so you get a very good idea. So yeah, so that's my kind of only critique I'd say on here. If you want to generally know more, is look up other pictures. I could look up a 00 gauge one and see what's going on there. Obviously you can read on here, it says this can be added to one or both sides. So I'm going to leave it on the one side, because first of all, I'm going to be lazy on that one. And if that's how they would have had it in real life, brakes on one side or both sides, then fine. So clearly I must have read that a few months ago. It's on there. So always read the instructions, always helps. So we'll start working on the next stage. I've done a bit of waffling already, but I've thoroughly enjoyed talking to you about the different aspects of the build to get to this stage. It's a mighty size compared to the 00 gauge. So I've got some snips. These are some Tamiya sprue snips, and I just generally cut flush, and you'll see a small bit of detail there. Then using a craft knife, obviously try not to cut towards yourself. If you have to, just take care when doing it. And we just run it around. This blade is a little bit blunt actually, so I could do with placing that one out, but that's probably going to be tucking in over the end, and like this one is, so there's a little bit of a lip there. So we just have to make sure that this lip is clear, and we can just run our knife around until we're happy. Just like I said, just be careful not to cut yourself. I'm sure you're all going to be very careful. So basically I'm going to get all the parts now, trim them all out with the knife and scissors, and make sure any flash lines, and if you're wondering, well, what's a flash line? It's a mould line that you get partway around things. Generally, when parts get tooled up, they're normally done in a way so that that's all minimised, so you don't have to do it. Or if it's an old tool, you generally get flash building up. So like on the edge of here, You can hear my finger catching it there, and that's a bit of flash there. So all you do is you grab your knife, and to be honest, you don't have to use the sharp bit. You could use the back of knife here. It's effectively your second blade, and you can run that round, and it means it doesn't cut into it too much. And you can give a little clean up and work your way around. If not, you can use a file, but sometimes with files we take too much off with that. So that's that. That's going to eventually tuck into here. So that's going to sit in there, and it will sit really nicely once we've taken off any excesses that are there. I've trimmed out all the pieces and had a little look at things. One nice thing is they've got these doors. You can have a hinge. Hopefully it will stay on focus when we're doing this. They've got this other door here, and the cute thing is on this door bit here, you've got where the lock goes through for it. Actually, there's a hole there, and it all lines up and pops through. It's nice what you can do with O-gauge. Would you be using this so then you can open up the doors? I guess to set up a scene or something like that. I don't know. Might as well build it with all the capability whilst we're here. So it's got some little pieces that go underneath here which catch the hinges at the bottom. So I'm going to glue them on. I'll put it together and show it to you all assembled. One thing I will say about is when you build the roof, you can build it with these vents, but that's for the fish van only. So we won't be using this because I'm building a ventilated van. But you could use these later on if you ever lost any bits, or you need some bits in your bits box to create something special, let's say. Sticking it together a little bit more tricky. It kind of clips really, really nicely on the sides when they clip on. But now we want to try and run glue and it not go everywhere and have loads of fingerprints because the glue's melted and my fingers been on it. So try and just be careful when doing it. Try and line things up. Just hold it, be patient. You spend ages deliberating on whether you're going to build one of these things or not, and then you start rushing it when you do it. You're not going to really get the result you want in those moments. So at the top it lines up. At the bottom there's a gap, so I'm going to have to squeeze that up. So run some glue in from the inside. Not too much, but enough to do the job. And I'm just going to push this together. You see that gap's gone there. If we do have any big gaps, we can fill it up with, I don't know, some putty later on if we have to. Just hold it so we feel like enough time has passed. It's never really a number because you might let go and it will open up again. So it's been, I don't know, like a minute. So we let go. The bottom opens up a little bit. Clean on that. Yeah, so I'll do the other side. Same thing, put the other end on as well. And yeah, have a review. So that's it together. I'm gonna let it dry a little bit longer. It's still soft from the edges, but it's, you know, it's holding its thing. It's got a little bit of a gap here, but I'm not too worried. We can pinch it up a little bit. I'm thinking I'll just fill this up with some putty or something, or just hold on to it for about an hour. Well, I don't want to use super glue because it's very instant, and then if it's in the wrong place, I don't know, and it'll be on top of soft plastic already. But ultimately, you know, it's a one piece there. We've got our doors that can open. I think that's cool. We can have a little load inside that could be sitting there creating a nice scene or something. So yeah, it's very interesting. But anyway, what I'm going to do is wait for this to dry. We're going to then do some priming. What I've got is my mat that I use for when I want to do painting. I have a dirty side, and then I have a side for when I'm doing general modelling. So we can uphold a certain standard of cleanliness, I guess. Then we have the airbrush here. This is one by a company called Hobbynox. It's got a quick release on it here, so I can swap out to another airbrush if I need to. I've got some other ones that I sometimes use. This nozzle is, I think it's quite a large one, like a 0.7 or something like that. So you get a lot of paint out quite quickly, but generally when you're doing one colour, it'll be fine. PSI, I'm not sure what I'm using right at the moment. Obviously you can adjust that. What I just want to say is the reason I'm going to use an airbrush to do all this, because it saves a bit of time. I'm going to prime it in this German Panzer grey, and then I'm planning to paint it with this grey. I'll see how that looks. I'll compare it to one of my 00 gauge ones and see if I'm happy with that colour. I've got a few greys, so I can kind of dust a few ones over it and see what happens with that. For the roof, I'm going to prime it white and paint it white. And that'll be that, and then we'll give it varnish to stop any marks going onto it straight away. As for the wheels, I will spray these black, but what I'll do is I'll mask these off. What I want to do is put the white line on here, because I really like white line on here. Well, I say I want to put it on, but I might avoid it in the end, but we'll see. But I understand when they came out of the factory, they had a nice white edge on them. So I'm going to have this as quite a modern new box fan. Now, if you don't have an airbrush, you can use a rattle can and spray this. Generally, make sure you shake them, and when you spray, don't start spraying with it on top, because you get all this unmixed kind of goo almost come out and splodge on. So spray it off away and then come back on over and avoid it. Wear a mask when you're doing this, even if you're using an airbrush. Those particles, even though they're acrylic, you think, oh, it's not going to hurt me. You don't want that in your lungs at the end of the day. So I'll be putting a little mask on here, and I'll have a window open to let it air. So I'm going to spray this, and yeah, you can watch the magic happen. So I mix up a mixture of water, a bit of airbrush flow improver, which makes things a bit nicer. What I'm going to do is just test it on the side here, just to make sure it comes out so it's not too watery, and that's fine. So I'm just going to work it over the item. That's the primer coat done. So we've got a uniform colour all over. Tends to fall off. Obviously we haven't got any shiny bits here or any brass bits anymore. So I'm going to let that dry for a little bit, and then I will do the main coat with grey, which I think should be about the right colour. I've got some other option greys that I've used in the past, like sea grey, but sea grey I know was a bit bright. So we'll go for a bit of grey, see how that comes out. If not, we can mix them together whilst we're in the airbrush. And yeah, we'll just see how it looks. Again, what we do is we check with what I've got in here. So it's an airbrush paint, so you should be able to put them directly in, but I always like to thin them down a little bit. So I'm kind of happy with that. It's not dribbling down when you were doing it, so that's fine. Now I'm going to go over the frames and the body, because the Great Western Railway frames and bodies are always the same colour from what I understand. So let's get the paint on. pretty nice. Do the other side. Check it. Sometimes it can clog and you'll feel like nothing's coming out. So you can just open it up all the way, give it a clean out. And you go from there. Really happy with the colour of this grey. With that coated, really happy with that. We'll move to the roof. That's gonna be really simple. So it's gonna be white, but we need to clean the airbrush out nicely. But we've kept the detail that is on the wood. And we've got the colour that we want. And being such a large model, you get a lot more shadow and things come onto it. So actually the paint doesn't even look that uniform. That's nice about it, because you've got those shadows. For the whites, I'm actually gonna prime this in a grey colour. See, everything's super bright because of the camera picking up the white, so it's like devilishly bright. But anyway, so I've got it together. We've got the grey. So we've covered the ends, sides. I primed the roof white and I've left it, it's kind of like a slightly off-white. And actually the paint wasn't that perfect. I had little bits come out. I gave it a good shake, but I think it's an old primer and it's kind of gooed up a bit. So I might have to get some new stuff, but it's going to be pretty typical, slightly dirty roof. On the axle boxes and that, I've put wash in just to pick out the details a little bit more around certain areas there. As you saw, I painted the buffer ends back to silver, as well as the hook and chain silver, and then I put a black wash over the top of them, so that's why we've got our little edges popping out there a bit more. So it's quite nice doing the O gauge, because you'll spot those things a little bit more. On double O gauge, of course, you can get lots of detail on that too. The roof is still off. I'm going to varnish that later separately, and then we can think about what we do on the inside, but I'm not going to do any more colorings on the inside. I like to kind of get this done. So my next plan is to put the transfers on. I've trimmed these out of that sheet because we had the option of the fish fan, you had a BR option, and the other one was for, these are the ones that we had here, so banana van. Yeah, so you got that as well. So what we're going to do is pop these on. I'm just going to show you one of the transfers of how it's all done, but it's really quite simple, and I find quite an enjoyable process. The one thing that you could do with when you do these things is pick up some micro set. You can use micro solder or micro set. They kind of do the same kind of thing, but they are quite aggressive on the transfers, so you generally use them kind of wisely. So basically what we do is we use that micro set, we can put that on the transfer once it's on, as well as before it touches that surface. So we're going to get the transfer off using water because it's water slide, so the water releases the transfer. That will then slide onto here on this area. We've wetted it with micro set, and what that allows is for the transfer to kind of start wrapping around the contours and everything, so it softens it off and allows it to seat nicely. And I understand with the sole, I might have got this wrong way around, but where you have the shiny part of the, you might be able to spot that we have the G&W here, we've also got like an extra layer, a clear film. It kind of breaks that down a little bit, but ultimately I'm going to run a satin varnish over the top of it, see how that comes out, and then I'll probably drop a matte varnish on over the top of that, just to help seal it all off nicely. But we'll see how the satin looks. I find the matte varnish and the satin varnish have a similar finish. There's the matte varnish, I don't know, you can see that I've got a matte varnish on there, whereas satin, I don't know, everything looks a bit more natural. And to be honest, like when you see the locos, not the locos, the obviously box fans, wagons, there's a certain amount of sheen to the paint. And it's almost not glossy paint, but there is a reflection, not reflection, but yeah, you see, so they're like bouncing off it a little bit, yeah, a bit of reflection. So that's why I wanted to go for the satin finish on this, and we just see how that looks. As I told you before, I've put the white rims on the wheels, so I'm happy with that. And the centers of the wheels have been painted the same color as the dark grey primer, so from a distance it will look all right. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. So let's get the transfers on and you can enjoy, well, learning how to do that. A acetal sheet here, which I'm going to use as my place to put my water. Just use a little pipette to help make this happen. What we do is we'll focus on the one transfer first, and what you'll see is the water goes into the, let's bring a bit closer for you, goes into the card, which is ultimately going to move the water slide transfer to come off it. What we can use is a pair of tweezers for some manipulation and picking up of the card, so we can manipulate the card if you find it's not coming off very easy. But generally you don't want to damage the transfer, so using a paintbrush is always a benefit. So what I do is I get the paintbrush and then we just start seeing if we can move the transfer off it. Yeah, it's a big transfer, so there's a chance we might struggle with that. What I've made the mistake of is I've left a lot of the shiny of the transfer on just here. So what I'm going to do, whilst I possibly have the chance, is run my blade across here and just take off a little bit of that excess. We'll see what happens with the microsol when we do the work. Move that out of the way. Is it moving yet? Not yet, so we're just waiting because this one takes a bit of time. We know that the next one we want to put on, if we put it on now, we should be okay. So we'll put that on there. Okay. It's still taking its time. I thought just in real time you can actually see. Is it moving yet? Not yet. So sometimes these things come off pretty quickly and sometimes not so much, and that's where we are now. So I can do little circles on it to see if it starts moving it. Yeah, so that's coming up now, so we're pretty good. So I'm just going to move to the wagon, or the van. So I've got a van here. I'm going to try and tilt it up for you so you can see a bit more, get a paint pot underneath it. I'm laying it on a bit of tissue just to give it less chance of things sticking to the other side. I'll probably just end up getting fluffy, so you'd be aware of that as well. Depends if your paint's sticky. So we've got a W here. We're going to work that down onto our area. What I said before, which I haven't done, is put on some of the micro set. So using a paintbrush, which isn't any use to you, I'm going to touch the area that we want to put it on. Okay, make sure no hairs are added. It's a bit smelly, so open the window for some of these jobs. Right. So we've got a W here. We're going to drop it onto the area that we want to put it. You've got working time. We don't have to worry about things suddenly having to be perfect all of a sudden in regards to the positioning, so don't worry too much on that. In the picture, we have one of the lines here, and then we've got this top line here that we want to line it up with. So what we're going to do is we're going to work it round. Come up there. It's got a big transfer, so it's already getting upset with me. I said you have lots of working time, but it's an argument. You can massage it around, but it's not moving super easy because I put it on the micro set, the micro sole. What we do is we try and pull it around a little bit, maybe with some tweezers. There we are. What we want to do is we want to bring it over a little bit. Just a little bit there. That should be good. So that's sat on there really, really nicely. And the micro set that we've put on there is done a magical job. And you won't be able to see it, but it's wanting to sit on the surface really, really nicely. Because ideally, because this would have been painted, you'd be able to see all the cracks in the wood in between it and stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is put a little bit over the top. I was meant to use my old brush. I failed on that one. So come with that. Just going to put a little bit over the top, and that just softens it off a little bit more. We've got to do its magic, and all we do is we'll dob off the excess. So when I say dob, dab, whatever you like. And we can come back in a bit and try and improve on how it's mounted, but the indentations are appearing where we have the cracks underneath. And if you really, really wanted to, I guess, I don't know, is it the back of a knife? You could just come in here and encourage some of it. But are you just going to damage the transfer? I fear that's all I'll manage, but just do a gesture towards it. And there we go. So that's the W there, and you can see the indentation building up on that. So it's going to look great. So I do the G now and all the other transfers and show you it done. So that's on there. I just need to run a satin varnish on, but you can see how it looks. It looks nice. Well, as far as I'm concerned, it looks nice. I just need something to go with it to put it along. But now I'm going to do a quick satin varnish over it, and we'll see how it looks once it's dried, to see if we can see less of this sheen where you have the bit of the transfer clear that's on there. So yeah, we'll see if we can blend that out. So here it is, looking tidy. I'll be honest with you, I actually damaged the side where the G is, so I'm going to wait for that to, because that was very prototypical. I knocked the transfer about, and so that thin skin still a bit soft. It's not completely hard yet. So when that dries, I think I'll just touch that up and we can neaten it up, and you won't know. Not that I've got a layout that it's going to go on, but I've got a couple of friends that have O-gauge layouts, so we can test it out on that at some point. But not really happy. There's an argument my G's slightly wonky on here, but I think it's fine. yeah, let me know what you think. Let's just show you a size comparison. This is a 00 gauge versus no gauge. There's something nice, I think, about the larger size because you see the grain of wood more, and obviously the detail is more evident on it. So really pleased, really glad I got one of these. I'll save up some pennies and I'll probably get myself a wagon at some point. I'll get a brake van and then get a loco. I just want to say a massive thank you for watching the video. If you've got to this point, thank you. If you're not already a subscriber, hit that subscribe button and there's a little bell. If you click on that, you'll see like my future videos that come in the future. So that's good. And if you really like what I'm doing, you'd like to kind of contribute in a broader way, I have a channel membership. You can see the join underneath. If not, there's the subscribe button. Not subscribe button. There's a link. Or you just go over to Patreon and type in Tableau now, and you can support the channel that way. So there's just obviously the more the channel is supported through people commenting, liking and subscribing, or even contributing in certain ways, helps the channel grow. Anyway, thank you so much as always. Leave a comment like I said before. Let me know what projects you haven't finished. I'd like to tell you that I'm very satisfied I've done this, and I've got a shelf where this is going to go and sit and run, well, just on the shelf. I need to get a mini layout made out, but we need rolling stock first. Anyway, I'll stop waffling. You take care. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.